It is Jake Lockley, not Jake Loxley. Although,
I gotcha.
but I have an excuse for that, and so I have a joke about that. And
Okay.
and Into the Night actually is not part of the Capes and Lunatics networks. They are just very good friends of ours. So we do cross promotional stuff with them all the time, but they are not Capes and Lunatics. So if you listen to their show, you're not supporting Capes and Lunatics, and that is bad. Well, anyway, not really, but let's get back to the show. Are you ready?
Let's do this.
Okay, we're just doing episode 2 tonight, correct?
Episode 2, yeah. I haven't seen the third one yet. I wanted to put it off till after I did it. Probably gonna watch it right
No
after
problem. Episode 3 is the stakes keep on getting higher, so I highly recommend it.
Can't wait.
Okay, let me get back to there we go. Open up that. Put my Moonlight and avast me hearties, and welcome once again to Full Stream Ahead. Arr. I be the captain of this desert ship, Charlie, the Professor Esser. And with me, as always, is me skinny rich friend.
It's Mozz.
Hey, Mozz, so glad to have you here for Full Stream Ahead. Sorry, as we discussed, Moon Knight Season 1, Episode 2, Summon the Suit. With little time to react, Steven is thrust into a war of the gods as a mysterious partner arrives. Our directors this week are Justin Benson and Aaron Moorhead. Our writers are, of course, Michael Castelline. Let's get all the who gets our written by credit. Created for television by Jeremy Slater. The characters and creator is by Doug Monick. Don Perlin also gets the character credit for just writing the comic books. And of course, Daniel Iman is our hardest working man in show business this week. Daniel is the staff writer. Alrighty. This is fun because we end off on what looks like the big beatdown battle. And then we cut to little Stevie Grant waking up in his bed, still tied to the post. And, the whole thing is that it clearly appears to be this dream within a dream kind of concept. But he also knows we just did that. He knows not to trust that this was all, that this was much less yielding than a dream,
Yeah. So, I mean,
reality.
It seems to me that Matt is responsible for all the retaping, the resetting of the sand before he goes back to bed, right? But at a certain point, he knows that Steven knows. So then why bother putting up the charade, right? So maybe it's not him?
I mean, well, that is, as they say in the business, the $6,400 question. Is it that Mark knows that Steve knows? Is it that Mark...
Well, he knows. Mark knows
trying
that
to maintain
Steve knows because they've been talking, right? So they've been
but
together on adventures. So why bother with? Yeah. So now I'm beginning to think that it's not him at all.
Well, and that's the other possibility. That is of course the other alter possibility.
I mean, it'd be kind of cool if there is a personality there that neither of them are aware of. That would be really fascinating.
And that may be the case, that we may get that Jake Lockley, not Loxley, as I previously said erroneously, Lockley character may be that third persona that the other two are unaware of. Because it's actually an interesting question whether or not Stephen Grant was, whether or not Mark Spector was aware of Stephen Grant. And it's an interesting question. Like, is Mark Spector just adapting to the revelation of Stephen Grant? Or did he know that Stephen Grant existed prior to this moment, prior to Stephen Grant waking up in his life, or him waking up in Stephen Grant's life, as it were. You know, that's where all these things get a bit more complex and a bit more different than what we imagine. You know, but as it is structured, it's very interesting at the beginning. You know, because of course he leaps out of bed and you get that sound, which I love, to show that he's still tied to the bed, that, you know, everything that he thinks he's avoiding is actually still moving forward. And then you have him dealing with going to work, and they're, you know, coordinating things off. And they say, well, Pike's Peak goes, okay, have you watched the security footage yet? And he thinks everyone's going to see the jackal monster and him coming out in his armor and all this stuff.
I think his first thought is, oh, are they going to catch me? And then he's like, but wait a second. Yeah, they're probably going to see. So it's kind of okay. I think his first thought was, oh, no, am I in trouble? But then he's like, wait a second. I can't get in trouble. They're going to see. Okay, so let's go.
Well, you'd like to think that. But like vampires not appearing in mirrors, jackal gods do not appear to those without the second sight. And that is the crux of the problem.
So hold on. So is it that there was some sort of an electromagnetic pulse or something that erases their image or their visual, light waves away from being detected? Or is it that it's there, but you have to be special to see it? So, well, but no, it can't be, because he doesn't see it on the tape either.
Exactly. So
right,
that's
so
how
the
you
tape,
know that it is a physical manifestation of, you know, a light wave redirection, but one that if you are sensitive to it, you see without seeing. You know, it's if your third eye is open, you can see it. And I'm guessing that if you got a Khonshu rocking up inside you as an avatar, your third eye is like all the way open all the time, man.
Right, but maybe it's the fact. Maybe it's that it's another dimensional kind of thing, right? So that's why the sand is never disturbed, because he goes to a different place and he exists in a physical medium in that place, but his consciousness gets transferred back and he's back in this world. And so that might be sort of an intersection of dimensions that we are not able to perceive. He is, because
they definitely have a lot of fun with the jump cuts, let's say, where there's a lot of real missing from this daring escape, you know. You know, and of course, thanks to Moon Knight's spectacular powers, he naturally escaped unharmed. You know, it is just that kind of it's a great tool for the author in this case to use. Well, he can still get away with it. Obviously, eventually he is not going to be able to get away with it because it's a lot to ask of people to say, oh yeah, you know, he just woke up in the bed the next day, all was well.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's also sort of like building up the legend. It's like they know it's going to pay off, and we know it's going to pay off. But at first, they're going to be like, oh, I wonder how that went down, or I wonder how that happened. They gave us a slight glimpse of Moon Knight beating up the Hound, and that was it. And then they teased us with that. It's like, now imagine how he got out of that. Now imagine how he got out of that.
And the truth is that the audience is always the better writer than the writer. That is the first rule of writing. You know, the audience always, oh man, I can imagine how that went. Yeah, don't tell me, because that's just going to ruin it.
Right.
It's why prequels are always risky. Because like, no, I had headcanon about that. Please don't. That's not what happened.
You mean I was wrong? How dare you?
How dare you? How dare you tell me that Chewbacca and Han Solo were not lovers from the start? Jail cell romance, man. It happens. Moving right along. So Stephen gets fired. because he goes to watch it and they say, dude, why did you mess up the bathrooms? You messed up the bath. Why did you do that?
But
And
everybody there is in on it, right?
no. People can be in there because it's a public museum, like he said in the
No,
first
but
episode.
I got the sense like all the people that were working there were betraying him, and then they had the symbol on their arm. So it felt like, oh, a lot of people there were part of the conspiracy. And I almost made me wonder, is that guy part of the conspiracy too? Is he one of the faithful?
I don't think so.
All right.
And unless their goal was to make him doubt himself, except for the fact that that doesn't seem to be the case. So, like in this situation, what I'll say is it does not seem like anyone at the museum is trying to make him doubt himself or believe it is all false. Except for the fact that they're telling him that it is all false or that this is what reality is. Whereas when we get to the quote unquote cops who show up later, who do turn out to be part of the cult, their approach is very different in the way they present it. And I feel like they are very much just trying to suss out if this guy is just playing them or if there's a real thing. Although I do want to call out, there is a really, what I think is a very, I guess it just reads strongly to me, where they say, please return any property of the museum. He's like, oh, I'm not trying to nick anything. And they're like, no, your name tag. But of course, this is his name. This is Stephen, who he is, who he believes he is. And now he has to take that off and give it back. He doesn't get to be Stephen anymore. At least, symbolically as we're watching the story. So I think that is a key point to it, that he has to give back his name tag. He realizes he has keys to a storage locker, and again, another burner cell phone that he now has to track down where this
storage unit,
where this key, storage unit. And I do like that it's implied that he just went to every storage company in London. And the last one was like, no, Mark, I remember you. You're just that great guy. You come by all the time. You're
number
so
43, right?
Yeah. And then takes him right there, goes there, and Mark has a cot, which implies Mark has slept there some nights. But of course, that doesn't necessarily make sense since, I mean, there are days in space, but you would think that, I guess maybe Mark sleeps at the storage locker only to return home and reset everything. It's
Maybe he doesn't sleep there, because if he sleeps, he probably gives up control back to Steven. So he probably just goes there as like a little spot to heal if he needs help, if he just needs to be stationary for a couple of days and let a leg heal or something like that, or a wound heal.
Yeah.
Because we do notice that he misses not just one night or one day's worth of time when he misses that date with that lady from the museum. It seems like he missed a bunch of days. So sometimes Moon Knight takes over for days at a time, and he wakes up none the wiser.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a lot. It's a lot to process here. But in this case, we also see Steven not willing to release himself back to Steven or to Mark. And they get back into their mirror battle. And Marquis finds the gun. He finds the passports. He finds all the money, and he knows this is some shady stuff. That's the truth of it. This is some shady stuff that he has found himself in the middle of. And he basically says, no, man, I'm going to go turn myself in, because clearly whatever we're doing, it's illegal. And you know what? I
don't want to kill anybody else.
Yeah, you're going to be behind bars, dude. So get used to it. But then Layla shows up. Layla, the wife of Mark Spector, possibly this is their way to. It's like, no, it's sort of like MJ in Spider-Man. It's like, no, she's Marlena, but she goes by Layla, kind of a thing. So Marlena is his chick in the Moon Knight comics. So that's a possibility. But now she's Layla. But I like her. She's a lot of fun. She's cool.
Yeah.
She drives a Vespa because Vespas are cool. Don't care what you say. You can be, you know.
No, but see, Vespas are cool because Vespas are not trying to be something else. Vespa has found their own identity. They're trying to be Vespas. But if you try to tell me a Vespa is a hog or a Vespa is like, shiny chrome, or that it has, that it can chase somebody down. Vespa is for buying a baguette on the corner and coming back home. That's what a Vespa is for.
Vespas are for getting around the city fast.
Yeah. You go to the corner to get your baguette. It's basically like a child's scooter.
Well, no. That's the I mean, that's the thing, is like they actually have a lot of power. You don't need to have on city streets. You don't want to be going 90 miles an hour because you will die horribly if you're going 90 miles an hour on a city street. You'll die horribly going 80 miles an hour on a city street.
If you want to be an intimidating gang member, you don't drive around in a Vespa.
Well, as I always say, man, who's more intimidating, the big hulking guy smashing things, or that little short guy in the white suit in the corner?
As long as he's not riding a Vespa, I might be convinced to say the little guy. But the minute he rides a Vespa, he's opening himself up to all sorts of bullying, perhaps legitimately.
Yeah, or then the Vespa guy just has to let you know that you know
what Vespas are. In the movie The Nerds,
Vespa owner.
When the nerds say, "Hey, nerds, we're gonna take pride in being nerds," and they do their little show, and they're like, "This is weird nerd music," and they're full celebration of their nerddom, and that makes them cool. But they're like cool because they're not cool, not because they're actually cool. Nobody would say they're cool, but they would be saying in kitsch that they're cool. That's why a Vespa's cool, right?
But you know what? In truth, that's why a motorcycle is cool. Because motorcycle culture was literally people saying, I don't need your rules.
Right.
I'm going to be a 1%er. I'm going to be a motorcyclist. And you know what? If you don't understand why you need to be a motorcyclist, that's not my problem.
Sure. Yeah. That's why Vespas are cool.
What makes you cool is nonchalance.
Right.
I don't get.
But then don't take that nonchalance and try to over-aggrandize that. Now look how cool my nonchalance is. Then it's not nonchalance anymore. You know what I mean? Then you're not being a Vespa.
Well, exactly. But and to be fair, that's what a lot of people who ride motorcycles are doing. Like, look how tough I am on my big Harley hog, and it's like, no, you're
but you can say that when it's true. You know what I mean? Like you're allowed to say that when it's true. Right.
You can say it when it's true. That's the point. It's like, that's the thing. It's like there are. Here's what I'm going to tell you. A biker will always respect another biker, regardless of whether their bike is a step through or step over, which is what I recently learned is the difference between scooters and motorcycles. Motorcycles, you step over; scooters, you step through, which actually means that the bikes in Akira are actually scooters, not motorcycles.
What?
No, the motorcycles they ride in Akira.
You step over them. You don't step through them.
No, apparently, the guy said no. You step through them. That it's a that in the anime, and again because it's Japan.
Huh.
So they just put a big old motor on the scooter, but they have like a place to put your feet in it. But now, of course, you can always stick your foot out if you need to. But that the engine mount, and the mechanics are in the back versus the basically if you have a place to put your feet that is shielded. And honestly, the line gets very blurry as you work through it. But that's just something someone had pointed out on the internet recently. And it may not be true, but I've said it, and you can fact check me, Mozz.
Oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, but that is apparently the difference between a scooter and a motorcycle. Is motorcycles, and I mean honestly, it's actually, if you want to get into old school stuff, it's a straight bar versus a curved bar. Because if you remember, on a girl bike, the bar is curved. And
can you see that?
Yeah, see, those are scooters.
Interesting. So that little thing right there, the little divot, like you step through it, I
Yeah,
guess. Or
yeah, that's a zip through. So all the engine and the works are in the back.
how interesting. How
Yeah.
interesting. Wow.
Well,
Wow.
there you
Look,
go,
hey,
man.
maybe there is a cool scooter out there.
There are
Hey,
cool scooters out there, man.
fair
It just,
enough.
yeah.
Go figure.
See, we all learn stuff new every day. But anyway, in this one,
Indeed.
and of course, to show you about being uncool on a scooter,
Hmm.
Steve is holding Layla's shoulders. He's like, it's making me feel really weird you're holding me like that. And he's like, well, how do you want me to hold you? And it's like,
I just met you.
yeah, exactly. It's this thing, Don't want to be giving you the Heimlich,
Right.
you know.
And I don't
And
know
let's face it.
if the limited time that that Steven's been around that he's ever ridden on the back of a motorcycle or a Vespa.
Well, I mean, that's probably not.
Hmm.
He probably walks everywhere. He's a city boy. He walks everywhere. He takes mass transit. I will imagine in his memory he grew up, in Coronation Place, and
Yeah, but I
walked
feel
out of
like
his.
those are pieces of memory that sort of are like foggy and vague and never visited. So they just live in the back
Oh
as,
yeah.
filler that's not really well defined.
Well, exactly. That's the thing. It's like, how many times do you think about how you got yourself to school every day? It's like, you rode the bus a few
Of
times.
course I
If that was
did.
what you did. Yeah, you remember certain maybe one incident or another, but as sort of happened in the great Bill Murray comedy Scrooged, when the Ghost of Christmas Past says that didn't happen to you, that happened to the kid on My Three Sons. That's your childhood memories, not what you actually did. It was what these people on television did.
That's funny.
So what's the difference from your perspective, especially if it had the same effect on you building who you are as it would have on that character? So it doesn't matter if I had this event happen to me in my life. If I remember this event, it may be just as powerful. And that, of course, is the power of stories and storytellers. You don't need to be Steve Rogers. You just have to understand why Steve Rogers is Steve Rogers and internalize being Steve Rogers yourself. As an example. But we do get in this, there's this urge to escape. They find the scarab. Layla's mad because she's like, are you trying to sell this out from under me? What are you doing here? Because she's still not understanding exactly what she's dealing with Stephen.
Right.
Although I get the feeling by the end of it, she kind of like, oh, F. When they're locked in the room, and he's like, I can't. And she's like, oh, something's really wrong with Mark. This isn't just him taking on another identity. This is someone who emotionally can't handle this. And I've got to figure out a way for us to get out of here. Which is beautiful in its moment. As a moment, that is a beautiful moment in this series.
Right, because you don't have to be the superhero to be the hero.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
No, and honestly, I would say Layla is as much a superhero in this as.
And when her superpowered, super, suited friend wasn't available, or her husband wasn't available to get them out of this situation, it was like, all right, I guess I have to deal with this. And she was just like, boom, just there. And that was pretty cool. She's like, yeah, let's get it done. We have to get it done. Not an ounce of cautiousness or fear. She's just like, okay, now it's my responsibility. Let's go. I thought that was really cool.
And to that further point, you have the idea that what is Stephen but the last bit of moral humanity left?
Oh, in the collective of their beings.
Exactly, because he is the guy who sees through Harrow immediately.
What if he separated these personalities to protect that piece of himself? The same way he's discluding Layla from the situation to protect her from Khonshu and from, whatever other danger may befall them as a consequence. But what if it's an interesting point. He's trying to protect that piece of himself that's still good because there's a lot of bad that he's been forced to do and he doesn't like himself so much. So he took the last little piece of his goodness and stuck it away in this personality and tried to shield it from all the bad he has to do. So that maybe once he's able to let go, there's still a piece of him whose favorite poem is the same favorite poem as his wife.
Well,
So that's the
exactly.
piece of himself he's saving for the reunion, perhaps.
Yeah, that he's keeping safe. I mean, that is the idea in this. Um, within the idea, and this is what I think is great about Steven. And I think we see this. I think we're going to see more of this when they utilize the Steven character. It is going to be this idea that this is the one who says heroes don't kill, heroes don't do these things. Like, this is what separates us, and this is the part that Mark wanted to have safe. And I think within this structure, when he is conversing with Harrow, I think that a character like Mark is very much gonna be almost easily swayed by the argument, kill Hitler as a baby. You just killed Hitler as a baby. We know what Hitler would have done. Amat knows what Hitler would have done. Why don't we just judge him then and avoid all the trouble? But of course, to someone like Steven, he's going to say no, because Hitler hasn't done that yet. It's actually funny because that was one of these things that one of my favorite Saturday morning breakfast cartoons, which is a series of very intellectual, poorly drawn comic strips on Facebook you'll find.
Oh.
And it's this idea of why the aliens say, I'm sorry, humans, you can't join the Intergalactic Alliance. You're too inherently violent. And he says, what do you mean? He says, well, take Hitler. And he says, well, okay, yes, Hitler was a very evil person and a long string of evil people, but they're the exception of the rule. And the alien says, no, not that Hitler existed, that you all want to go back in time and kill Hitler as a baby. Okay, you can tell me about Hitler after I finish my joke. Okay. And then the alien says, no, but that's the problem. None of you ever think to go back in time and, give his mom a headache before he's born, or to do something other than just violently kill Hitler. Or even, as I always say, go back in time and just make sure he has a decent childhood, so it's not horrible and he doesn't turn into a monster.
That's the thing. Why don't you go back and, if you really want to say, if you're going to go further back and further back and further back, what were the socioeconomic conditions under which he grew up in? And then now we have to have a conversation about all the wrongs that all of us collectively are responsible for.
Yeah, and we realize, you know what, we've always been living in the evil mirror dimension. We just didn't want to admit it. Tristan, what did you want to say about killing baby Hitler? Yeah, that is probably Barry Allen's big failure. That he could have, that with the power to go back in time and you want to change time, you could do so many things to save so many people. But it's a little lame if you just want to go back and make sure your mom doesn't die. But at the same time, wouldn't you want to save your mom? It's it's hard to say that was the failure. So, but yes, good point to add in there, Tristan. I do appreciate that. I hope you could pick him up on the mic.
And my point in saying, that perhaps we should look at the environment that he grew up in and how we can fix the world at large so things like that don't happen is not to say that as an excuse for the character or the person of Hitler, but that is to say that propensity lies in society significantly, and we need to be aware of it and manage those points of choices where those things can happen as a lesson, that it's all possible for us to do it again. And it's and if we
Exactly.
keep pointing fingers and saying that was it was just an expression of the human condition. We need to fix society so things like that don't happen.
Exactly. And you know what, Tristan? What do you get when you take a social, mentally unstable person and put them in a society that doesn't care for them at all?
You get what you
Uh,
deserve.
yeah, okay. That's good. I've been trying to teach Tristan that that's the answer that I would say. It's like, hopefully the people rise above their situation, because that's what we have to do. We all have to do that all the time, every day. But yes, but you do get what you deserve, and that's sort of what a Hitler is I guess we had that coming, I mean, and that's the thing, is like, if you start off with a world with, chattel slavery in the US, it's going to go, I don't know where we think we're going at the end of this, but hopefully, like we said, we realize the error of our ways and we start to do better.
Right.
Oh, guy with the, well, you say that all the time, Tristan.
I only say that when there's a guy with a clown skin in the lab.
Yeah, there's a lot of people with, he has his Oculus, so he's playing a lot
great.
of VR games, and whenever he sees the clown skin, he has to. Oh, there we go. We see now. You have to friend Mozz. You can shoot him on in Oculus.
Yeah, please.
I mean, I can go on my Oculus account.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
So we'll connect you two, and you guys can play together.
Right on. Although I play mostly golf.
Oh, he plays mostly golf. Do you want to knock some? Oh, well, that's what happens when you're a skinny rich person like Mozz. You can afford to play golf.
Or you get old and all the moving around and the aiming, and it's like, can't I just play a nice, calm little game of golf? I don't want to, like, playing video games of shooting people on a controller is fine because it's right here. But when you have to get up and move around, like, man, this is exhausting. Let me sit down for a second. Let's play some golf. Yeah, that's where I've ended up.
That's fine, Mozz. I agree 100%, quite frankly. So anyway, getting back to our story. But yeah, I did think that was a really important point. I think both of those characters' real central points in this episode. Both Stephen Grant just seeing completely through the falderall of fascism. Saying, well, if we just kill all the evil babies, then there will only be nice people left. Argument as not.
But there will always be an infinite people being born, so there will always be an evil baby that will come out.
Yeah, which means you just got to kill a lot of babies. Is the problem?
Why kill babies and I'm not why don't you just treat them better?
Well, that's the idea. That's.
But then again, a lot of serial killers probably were just sociopaths from the start.
Well, not necessarily, or they were sociopaths because their parents were sociopaths. It's. There's a whole, like I said, the whole nature nurture problem breaks down when you realize that, oh man, everybody who was born had the nurturing of people who made them, and they might not have been the best people to make them, which gets you into eugenics, which is a whole other scary place to be that no one wants to get into. Yeah, but that's the question, Tristan. Are they sociopaths from the start, or are they sociopaths
from their parents?
Yeah, it's like
What if there's a whole spectrum of emotions that people can go through, and a whole spectrum of things that people are predisposed to react to, and when two energies collide, like quantum fields, and create a particle like an electron or something, in the same way, when this field collides with this field, when somebody with the propensity to maybe react poorly to certain environments reacts that environment, poof, you have something that is possible in the human condition, and that gets to express itself.
Well, exactly, and that is the reality, is that some people are predisposed to social pathology, some people are predisposed to psychopathology, some people are predisposed to cancer. You can't, and really the difference is similar. Should no person be allowed to smoke because some people will get cancer? A lot of people get cancer, so maybe there's an argument to be made. Hey, but actually, I think that the idea that some personal responsibility is important, but also that there's a societal responsibility to say, dude, that's going to give you cancer.
Mm.
Dude, that's going to make you a sociopath. Don't do those things, because once you become a sociopath, there will be consequences for sociopathology.
That's
Oh,
there's this old poem I saw on Deaf Poetry, where the punchline at the end is, "You will see hell coming when you forget about the poor people." Right, and that's, I think, what creates these giant situations where it's dangerous when a wild idea can take root and rage like a fire in a field of dry hay, because you allow people's quality of life to degrade so much that they have no other choice but wild ideas. And that can take hold when you don't take care of your society. A lot of poor people can be easily led to evil things. So you got to take care of society so that C that's ripe for abuse can't be taken advantage of,
exactly. And along those lines, the idea that what we build ourselves to, what as a community, is our responsibility to one another. Is it is what we see in this, but also we see its mirror opposite in the fact that Harrow, and this is a very interesting thing. Harrow makes this point in this episode about how they all try to learn 3 languages. And he makes these statements in Mandarin to someone else, neither of whom I believe are Chinese, in that conversation where they're having it in Mandarin. And of course, Smilu and many other people may point like, oh my gosh, they have horrible grammar in Mandarin. And it is literally the Orientalism that the producer of this show, or I forget his name, the guy who made a big deal about making sure everyone is Egyptian, or that you're I think that you're presenting Egyptians, is that I don't know, but presenting Egyptians as Egyptians, that this is literally it, that this is literally the idea that this is a white guy showing how much he's one of the people by learning Mandarin, even though he's not learning it well, but thinking that gives him the authority to.
He's on the journey. He's just learning.
He's on the journey,
right? I mean,
but
like,
he's also killing people left and right. So
I understand. But from his perspective, his soul, his conscience is clean because he's doing it for killing Hitler reasons. So
yeah.
I don't think it's
why not just try to make Hitler have a better life? That's the point,
Right. He was predisposed to react a certain, maybe just put him in a different environment, where those two energies don't get to be so close to each other, and maybe we come out okay.
Yeah,
but I thought that was kind of cool, and I think that the reason they're showing like the white guy is because, okay, he's talking to somebody who also isn't very adept at it, but they're learning with each other, like, let's talk so we get practice with it. So I thought that's what they were trying to show.
Yeah, although you don't want to have the Peggy Hill effect, where people who speak a language to themselves and to others who also don't speak the language find themselves in a spot where they think that they're correct, even when presented with false, with corrected information. Tristan, what did you want to say? What? Oh, fine. Yes, you can use my phone to make drawings. Okay. Thank you, Tristan. Anyway, so that's that. But yeah, I mean, and like I said, I mean, that's the question, and that's the idea that there's ways you can look at it. Yes, he could be just a guy learning and trying to be better. And I think on some level, that is what Hero wants, is to be better. But it is that question, in his attempt to be better, is he really bettering himself?
He's misguided for sure.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like, if he is misguided, if he is whatever he's planning for his group,
which I think leaves the possibility open for some sort of reason to wake him from his misgivings. If he genuinely has the impulse inside to like genuinely want to do good, I think it's possible to show someone like that that is probably not very good. And once they see that, someone that genuinely believes that they want to be good, it would be impossible for them to continue down that path once they see the truth. But I think that's the thing. You just have to, instead of fighting that guy, you need to show him the truth somehow. Because fighting is only going to strengthen his resolve.
But I actually think that there's an aspect of this that is actually a bit deeper, which is the idea that he is also a former avatar of Khonshu, and he was also a fist of vengeance. And when you are a fist of vengeance, eventually you say, well, if I have the power of a god, what if I stopped people before? What if I did pre-crime? You know?
Yeah, that's nail hammer kind of thing, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And which is why, and I think that's sort of the thing, is that Stephen is moral because you need someone to be moral as you have a fist of Khonshu, as you have an Avenger. An Avenger can only be an Avenger.
Chipping away at your humanity little by little.
Exactly. That's the crux of the biscuit, Mozz. Any final thoughts tonight?
No, I'm super excited for the next episode. I'm really loving Oscar Isaac's performance in this. Really loving the relationship between Layla and him, and how there's like pieces of the old Mark perhaps that are in Stephen that she's noticing. And those sorts of dynamics are really, really interesting to watch play out, especially with really, really good actors.
Absolutely. And for those of you who don't know, this is Full Stream Ahead, part of the Capes and Lunatics network. If you'd like to talk to any of the people on the Capes and Lunatics network, you can write to us at CapesandLunatics@gmail.com. That's CapesandLunatics, all spelled out, @gmail.com. Call us at 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And go to Linktree, that's linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics, where you can buy amazing merch, like a real aluminium mug that'll keep your drink cold all night long, as well as amazing t-shirts, not this one I'm wearing, but others. And it is still an amazing t-shirt, yes. And of course, you can also contribute to our Patreon that keeps the whole thing on the air. We appreciate it if you can give us a little money. If you give us $5 a month, you get full video content, including the worst superhero movie brackets. Yes, you also do get topless movie reviews, of which the worst superhero movie brackets are a part. Anyway, and at the end of the day, if you want to just write to me, good old Charlie Esser, you can do so at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter as I live tweet things at Charlie Esser. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Mozz. All right, ladies and gentlemen. All right, me hearties. Me delightful cast and crew who've sailed with us upon the seas of sand of ancient Egypt. Come away with us again next week as we once again sail full stream ahead. Arg.
All right.
All right. Thank you so much, Mozz. I will talk to you whenever you want to do this next.
Yeah,
and yeah,
probably
just
Tuesday or not the weekend, maybe, but we'll see.
That'll be cool. Well, yeah, just let me know what works for you. Saturday I'm a little bit booked, but I will have openings in the evening. Sunday I will be open in the evening, and then Monday and Tuesday, of course, I'm free.
Right on. Sounds like it's a Sunday evening or Tuesday would be probably ideal.
Okay. Oh, also, Friday I'm completely open, but that's unrelated.
Yeah, so, Friday I probably wouldn't be able to.
That's fine. Totally cool. Talk to you soon, my friend.
All right, man. Bye. Have a great night.